I'm Dr. Angela McBurdy of DoctorFlute.com, and today's flute tip is on how to handle a bad tone day. You might think that the better you get as a flutist, that there are no more bad tone days. I'm here to tell you that bad tone days come to us all. It doesn't matter if we're the top professional or we're a lowly intermediate flute player. There are bad tone days for us all. I just listened to a podcast with a well-known flutist, and he was talking about how he still has bad tone days. They come to us all. But I'll tell you that there's some hope for bad tone days. There's some things that you can do to reverse bad tone days and maybe to prevent them from coming quite as often. When I was in college, I remember having bad tone days and thinking, oh no, what if I have a bad tone day on my recital day? I mean, that's a distinct possibility if your bad tone days are coming every now and then that happens. You're like, all right, what do I do about it? Well, there's a couple reasons why they happen, and I don't have the definitive reason as to here's exactly why they happen. I've just kind of come up with some ideas, and I think that they're legitimate. But is it the absolute bottom line why there are bad tone days? Well, I'm not positive, but here's what I think. So our embouchure is a muscle, and that muscle has to be activated. It has to be worked and has to be warmed up and used all the time. If you take a day off after you've been practicing a lot and you can come back in on that Monday after you took the weekend off or something, you can fool yourself into thinking, holy cow, I've got a great tone. This is wonderful. Because sometimes that muscle does need to be relaxed. I mean, all people that are in sports know that they don't work their muscles every single day, the same muscles all the same time, because one set of muscles needs to be relaxed and heal, and then you work on the large body group of muscles and you work the small muscles. Well, we flutists use the same muscles all the time. Our same finger muscles and our same embouchure muscles. So we can't really use that every other day kind of thing. We're using this all the time. So sometimes having a day off does help that muscle to just get back together, heal up if it was used too much, and you can come back in and have a good day. But a lot of times after that good day on Monday, Wednesday, you have a bad tone day. And I think it has to do with taking that time off. So one of the ways to combat a bad tone day is just absolute consistent practice. Just be consistent. Just do it every day. I'm a firm believer in one day off a week. I know I'm saying what I just said don't do, but I do have at least one day off every week that either one, too busy, or two, I need a break and I'm not going to do it. And then I come back in. But I've been consistent enough through my life of practice that one day off is not a killer to my tone. When I was in college, taking one day off, I thought was an absolute killer. Let's talk about how to prevent them from coming, or prevent them from coming too often. And by preventing them, what you have to do is have very, very consistent tonal practice. Okay, and that doesn't mean just technical practice. I mean tone practice. So what I would do when I was in college and I said I had a bad tone day, or the opposite, boy, today my tone is really happening, it's really good, then I would think back the last couple days, what was I doing consistent in my tonal practice? And then I would write that down. So having a journal is a really good thing. So you can look back and see, what was I doing? What kind of exercises was I doing for tone that makes today be a really good day? And then when I figured what that out was, then I would do that very consistently for a long period of time, a month, 2 months. I would just do that. until I had another bad tone day. And then I'd say, okay, number one, maybe it's time to switch out something in that tonal practice. Let me add something else to that and then do that consistently and see if that actually helps my tone. So having a good consistent tone practice where you say, I'm going to do these 3 exercises. If they don't start improving my tone, then I'm going to add something and take away something. You can figure that out. Sometimes it's just a big experimentation process where you have to figure out for yourself and for your embouchure what it is that it likes. What does your embouchure like? Now, I think there is one, maybe 2 exercises that I think are really fantastic for tone practice to give you a consistent, good tone day most of the time. I'd say all the time because we still have days where they're not good. Everybody does, okay? Don't let anybody say bad tone days go away. They're a thing of the past. But having a exercise where you tongue short, all right, very short tonguing exercise is, you might say, how is that a tone practice? Well, that helps you to pack a punch on a tiny burst. So you have to have your embouchure all together. The tongue has to be in position, and your rib cage, your support, that's the word I'm looking for, support has to be there. And you tongue very short, a whole lot of short tonguing exercises. There are 2 that I would recommend, but you can do anything for a short tonguing exercise. And I also recommend you do them in the low register. So I like to do Reichert's number 2 exercise as a tonguing exercise, very short, and I do this exercise almost every day. And I would do that all the way through, all through those different keys. Now I'm playing it fast because I've already played it today. I've already warmed up on that exercise. And there were many, many a day when I first started doing that exercise and thinking that short tonguing helps my tone, where either I didn't get all the way through it because it was just taking far too long, or I would just concentrate on 2 different keys with their major and their minor combination and just work on those very slowly to make sure there was no delay. Don't let there be a delay when you're tonguing those, and to make sure that the sound was the sound I was looking for. So that exercise helps that your air, your tone, and your ta all have to come together. But you can also, you're working on this and you're working on support. So you are thinking about keeping this relaxed and thinking about opening up your embouchure. So one of the reasons why I think our bad tone days come is because we've overused a muscle, we've underused a muscle, that's the second reason, or 3, for some reason today I'm really tight. My muscles are tight, I'm tight, and that tightness is what infiltrates into the tone. Now, I just had a student do a senior recital, and she came, and when they have a senior recital on a day that their lesson is usually done, this is a college student having her senior college recital, and she came to her lesson. What I do is just warm that student up. We don't really do anything. We'll sometimes talk about what they're going to play after the recital is over, but my main purpose for that lesson is to relax their embouchure. And she came in, sure enough, saying, I think I'm having a bad tone day. And by the time she left, she said, I think my tone is back to where it should be. Because I had her do a lot of tonguing exercises where she concentrated on support, her ta, and her relaxed muscles. That was keeping her from tightening up, because as she was getting more nervous about the recital coming up, and maybe we don't say anxious or excited for the recital to come up, it was making this start freezing up and tightening up in there. And so she needed to just play some exercises that were long and slow. So that exercise is not something I would do fast at all if I need to get my tone back and I'm listening very hard about what exactly I'm doing. Now, that's one of the tonguing exercises. The other tonguing exercise I like to do is, I believe it's number 8 of Taffanel and Gobert. And it's tonguing. I only do the first and the second because they deal with a low register. So I think that if you're wanting to really get your tone back together, stay low. Stay low. There are reasons why your low register fixes everything above it and makes that good. But I think one of the reasons is your low register, you just have to be really loose and relaxed. And if you're getting that low register, it infiltrates the high register and is going to make that better too. So number 8 has different key signatures you can do with a C arpeggio, but you're doing... And I'm thinking about holding my breath. As you see, I had to let out air in order to take a breath in because I needed more oxygen, but I had too much air. So that exercise to making sure I'm listening to that delay, I'm playing it really slowly. I'm not blowing too much air, because also if you're getting more anxious for a recital to come and getting excited about it, usually you're blowing too much, and that's going to loosen up. Now, that's not to say that your long tones aren't a good thing to do as well. Yes, do those. That's all part of the package, but I'm saying specifically tonguing exercises. I said there were 2 that will help. One is these type of tonguing exercise, and you can find anything else. Maybe there's a low tonguing section in your solo. Sure, use that. That can help you as well. The other one is to work on flexibility. So I really like Trevor Wise' flexibility exercises in his tone book, using that in the different articulations that he uses, different rhythms he's using for the exercise, which I think, let's see if I have it. I think it's something like that, where it's in groups of 16ths. And he's got 4 different ways. I think that's the one. He's got different ways you read about it. You could just read what he says. But what I like to do is have my students work on just the first 4 lines of that. If you do it all the way through, it can take up your whole entire practice time, and a lot of us don't have that much time to spare. But you're using your embouchure to get your notes out, not your airstream. So you have to barely play. Anything that will make your lip move, but I'm not going to blow air. So I don't care about my tone quality really in that exercise, which makes it a really good exercise to do, because I don't care what I sound like. I only care that my lip is getting these high notes to come out. And making my lip get that. And I'm listening to, am I holding my air in? Is my lip doing all the movement? And that makes me, of course, again, concentrate on being very relaxed through there. So a tonguing exercise and a flexibility exercise. And you know what? You can find a place in your solo that you're working on that you can use as a flexibility exercise. The key is don't blow any air at all. Play with the tiniest sound, because you're making your lip do all of the work. You're making it be all of it, because it helps to relax in here. So those are my ways to combat your bad tone day. Be consistent with practice. Have a consistent tonal practice. Use short tones to give you a relaxed embouchure and a tone that's right there. Flexibility exercises, very consistent with your long tones and whatever other tonal exercises you like to do, and play them consistently You'll find that it really helps. And if you're having a bad tone day, to go right to those flexibility exercises or the tone, short tone exercises, and get right to that immediately and see if you can get yourself back into a good tone by the time you're ready to play. Now, sometimes, so if I haven't practiced for a while, because say we all had an illness such as COVID, because the whole family had it, there was probably a 2-week span I didn't practice. It was probably another week after that where I really felt like I could start practicing again. And what was key there to getting my tone back was just plain practicing. Just practice. I took out my etude books and I played through from beginning to the end. I just played through my etudes because there I needed to get my muscles trained after having 2 or 3 weeks off from practicing, how to get back into feeling good again. So sometimes it's just a longevity of practice. Just play your etudes, play your exercises, and you're going to get your tone back. And other times it's a real concerted effort to say, I'm going to play these exercises consistently and see what that can do for my tone. But that's how I would combat a bad tone day or a bad tone week, and see if you can practice those exercises and see what they do for your tone. I think you'll find that your tone starts becoming a little bit more consistent and your bad tone days are not going to be as often. I will tell you that while we still all have bad tone days, when you're an intermediate player, your bad tone days are down here and your good tone days are up here. And when you have really improved your skills and you're more on that professional level, your bad tone day is here and your good tone day is here. So the dip to a bad tone day is much smaller than the dip was when you were a lesser player, an intermediate type player. Your dip from bad to good is much smaller. So the dip is not as big once you get your playing to a certain level. So it does, I wouldn't say your bad tone days, they don't go away, but they don't dip as far. You're like, okay, I go from really good to maybe pretty good, instead of from what I thought was really good at the time to really terrible to really good to really terrible. Also, just one thing to keep remembering is that people listening to you don't think of your bad tone day as bad as you do. So a lot of times if you have to perform and you thought you had a bad tone day, nobody is hearing that bad tone day like you're hearing it. So feel a little bit more confident on that. That's today's flute tip.